Hey guys, welcome back to Doc Lale Talks Comics, and today we're going to talk about what books did I pick up this week at the comic shop. So we've got a decently sized week this week, but most importantly, we have one of the best conclusions I think I've ever read. So let's go ahead and dig into it. What is the book of the week? Swamp Thing, 1989, issue number 4, written by Rick Veitch, and art by Tom Mandrake, and colors by Trish Mulvihill. This story shows the final triumph of Swamp Thing and the final destruction of Anton Arcane. It's been said many times that a lazy writer gives a happy ending, but this one just fits. And I don't want to give any of the big beats away, but let's just say that Arcane is finally sent back to hell forever. Swamp Thing and Abby get the peace and the resolution that they deserve to be with their child. There is a revelation about what direction the child was supposed to go in back in the day versus the way that Doug Wheeler went. But it ties back in at the end to where Wheeler went. So it's funny how that happened. You get to see Arcane come up against Swamp Thing for the final time. And he's intent on forcing the hatred out of Swamp Thing. He attacks Swamp Thing over and over, and Swamp Thing says, I have visited the source of everything. I have been to the beginning. I have seen the great ideas. And I am beyond hatred, even for you, Arcane. Something about this, and the fact that this is the end, brings a tear to my eye. Because I know this was where Rick was going to eventually let the title go anyway. But now I want more. Now I want to go back and see what Jamie Delano and Neil Gaiman and any other writers that it might have been lined up to work on the title. I want to see where they were going to go. I want to see what stories they had that could still be told. Because this was so good that it finishes the cycle. But in the end, I want to see the other half. I want to see what is out there for Swamp Thing. And that's not to do away with everything that Doug Wheeler did. I don't bash Doug Wheeler. I don't bash, anybody. I try not to on this channel. But he kind of got thrown into an unenviable position. But by the same token, could it have been written more succinctly? Could it have been better paced out? Perhaps. But to see Metron and Constantine and the baby and Abby, and even, I knew this was coming as well, you get to see Tom Mandrake draw the Spectre again. Although if this were the case, this would have actually come out before his run on the Spectre. But if I remember right, he did do issue 84 and possibly 85 of this series, helping out Tom Yates, who had come back to kind of help finish everything off since he was friends with Vetch and Bissett, Totalman, and the lot. He had come back for that. But this is probably the most perfect ending to any 4-part miniseries or reinterpretation that I've ever read. And that's really all I can say about this, other than the fact that with the old newsprint type paper, the ads that belonged on here at the time, it's crazy how good this was. And I hate that there's no issue 5 coming. Next up, we have Green Lantern issue number 37. And this is written by Jeremy Adams with art by Zermanico. And you get to see Odyssey and Kyle Rayner and And sometimes Kyle's impulsiveness gets the better of him. And Odyssey has got quote-unquote trolls on the internet that are yelling at her and let's see, what a poser, they just try to force feed us these weirdos. Is that supposed to be a star on her face? Ooh, that's exactly the only thing interesting about her. That sort of thing, okay? And Kyle gets on there and he says, I'd rather have a star on my face than be an attention-starved loser who spends their Friday nights commenting on videos. And he sent it, and then all of a sudden it blows up. And then he says 14 hours later, he's still responding. And then he gets a text message from Jade, and Odyssey wakes up. She says, what's going on? And he says, oh, Jade wants to meet up for breakfast. I'm going to get a bite, and I'll be back in a little while. Also, it might be a best idea to stay off your phone for a while. And so Odyssey looks at her phone and says, there's an I Hate Odyssey club now, Kyle. So you get that. You get Hal Jordan still in space trying to track down the mystery of the Owen book that he found that told him that he had a great destiny, so he's trying to figure out what's going on with that. Then Kyle has a meetup with Jade. They have breakfast. Meanwhile, he gets a phone call that somebody who had attacked someone else from online has gone and grabbed Odyssey. So he's got to go find out what's going on with that. And it turns out to be a literal troll, like a goblin. And Kyle is trying not to laugh, and he's like, please just relax, because this is going to hurt. So he slices the arm off the goblin, and the goblin says, since the Omega energy freed me from my prison, I have acclimated to this new world. I am born anew, feeding on the energy that comes from conflict, the energy I need to survive, and people give it willingly to me. So then Kyle goes and creates this knight. He's done that before. He goes and creates this knight type hard construct with his ring. And the troll says, silly sprite, your physical threats mean nothing, and he just shatters it. And, it's one of those things, it's created from Kyle's will. You're not supposed to just be able to just easily rip it apart or throw it to the side. And in the end, it ended up Odyssey protecting herself using magic. And she sliced it into his arm, and then she says, oh, you thought that was bad? And you got this like 4-panel thing where she's just slicing and dicing off camera, and Jade and Kyle are like, do you think we should stop this? And she said, yeah, one more cut. So, welcome back, guys. I thought about dropping this book, but I am fully invested, especially with the guest star that is on the last page. I didn't think that we'd ever see him again in a Green Lantern book, but I suppose he's been floating around in the DC universe for a while now. Just probably not going to end well for Kyle or for this other character. But fun, entertaining. Jeremy Adams still has it almost 40 issues into this title. Okay, speaking of 40 issues in, we have Superman issue number 40 by Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora. And you get to see the massacre attack from Manchester Black. And so it's a massive fight between Superboy Prime and Manchester Black. And Manchester wants to be resurrected. He doesn't want to be a ghost anymore. He wants to be brought back to the land of the living, so to speak. And the only way that he knows to do that is to get Superboy Prime to, smash the universe again, just punch the universe again like he did in Infinite Crisis. And CK, Superboy is trying to be a good guy again. He's trying to rebuild his image. He's going on a redemption arc. And eventually, they come out into, quote-unquote, the real world. They come out of a comic book and burst out into the real world. And so Manchester Black says sometimes you have to let your words do the fighting for you. And in the end, he gives Manchester Black what he wants. Manchester Black wants all the knowledge that Prime has so that he can go and remake this world in his own image. And what ends up happening is Prime force feeds him and just chokes it down him. The entirety of the continuity that Prime knows. Prime has read every DC comic book that there is, so he knows the ins and the outs. And unfortunately for Manchester Black, it's just too much. He's like, I can't take all of this. It's, you know, the crisis after crisis and retcon, and you know, it's too much. I can't handle this. And so it comes to a point where he just gives up. And the Justice League is upset with Prime because they said, you know, he knows all of our secrets. And he said, yeah, but I mean, it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And they said, well, we just hope that, where did they send him off to? Where did they send him off to? Sent him to the infamous Phantom Zone. So they said, we just hope that the Phantom Zone can hold Manchester Black so that he never rears his ugly head again, knowing everything that he knows. He knows the good, the bad, the ugly, the weaknesses, what can destroy each of the superheroes, each of the supervillains. He's you know, the antithesis of Superboy Prime, because he has all the same knowledge, but he's not able to access it, and he doesn't have all of that. He didn't respect it, okay? At one point he said, I hate comic books. I hate what they symbolize. They're just as much of an outdated thing as the Superman that you worship. And then Superboy just hits him with all that knowledge at once, and it freezes him out. So a fun ending to this particular Reign of the Superboy story in here. I can't, you know, imagine where they're going to go from here, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Kingdom of Zod. So am I going to collect it? Possibly, maybe not. I haven't made up my mind yet, but that's definitely a fun book, and as long as they keep Dan Mora on this title, then it's a no-brainer to read it each and every month. Okay, what else do we have here? We have The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 33 by Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness, and Mark Farmer of the art team. And you get to see that Robbie is trying to help Spidey figure out who Cormac McCarthy is. Or Cormac McCarthy. But Cormac Crane, he's trying to figure out who Cormac Crane is, because Spidey he doesn't necessarily get bad vibes off of this guy, but he doesn't understand, you know, he's like, where has he been all this time? And how's he able to hide, you know, in plain sight from me, from the whole Marvel universe for all these years? And Spidey ends up going and fighting the Jack-o'-lantern, which, you know, I always thought Jack-o'-lantern was kind of an underrated character. The horror aspect of him, you know, when it was a Scottish guy to begin with, you know, with a cat, that was kind of cool. But I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate what's going on with Jack-o'-lantern. And he eventually, the Joe Kelly humor does come in, and he says, Jack-o'-lantern says, as I was saying, Braun. And Spidey says, you like big heads and you cannot lie? Yeah, I see you sassy little pumpkin chunker. And so he throws him head first right into a wall. So that was kind of funny to see that. And then you get to see damage control, and like it was said in the solicitation, you know, doesn't damage control come in afterwards? But this is actually a new form of damage control with Agent Griffin. And he says Hogue and company are still doing a bang-up job on Super Duty cleanup, you know, but we're meant to be proactive, control the damage before it happens. And so Spidey goes and goes on his My Name is Earl type of redemption arc of his own, and he goes by his boss and says, you know, let's see, I fixed the Mycoteria code, which is what his friend Brian was working on when he became Spore. And he says the energy dispersion array alone can cross apply to 10 different projects at Rand. You can help a lot of people with it. Just take my name off of it and give it to Brian. He said that way if the patent throws off some money, it's the least I can do, and he's going to need our help when he gets better. So she kind of realizes that she was wrong about him. She thought that he was selfish. She thought that Peter Parker only thought of his wants and his needs, and he would duck out, you know, just like a lot of other people. They think that Parker is what is the word that I'm looking for? Flaky. And that he just doesn't get it. But instead, you know, when he's got to deal with the gibbon and tarantula and that sort of thing, then, you know, anybody could be flaky. Anybody in their mind could be flaky. So, but this continues, then march towards issue 1000, which I believe is, yep, it's not going to be next month, but it'll be the beginning of September. So you get to see 2 more issues before that massive issue 1000, and I can't wait to catch up with that. All right. Corpse Night, issue number 4 by Michael Chavez and Matthew Roberts. This book absolutely broke my heart because Foy finally reaches Joan of Arc, who she's been trying to reach the entire time to try to save her father, and Joan of Arc sees her father without the why am I blanking on words today? Face mask, shield, helmet is the word. And sees him without his helmet on and says, this is not a creature of God. God did not do this. Let's see. She says, no, this is not the work of God. Creepy image in 3, 2, 1. And so that's what her father looks like now. And Joan says, this is the work of the devil. This is not the work of God. He must be destroyed. And so she says, off with his head. So where do we go from here? You know, if the Corpse Knight has been defeated and Joan of Arc, who Foy has held as her hero for all these years, you know, through this entire thing, if she's not the one to save this man from this, who is capable of doing it, if indeed anybody is? One of the best books this week and one of the best reads that I've read this year. It's just heartbreaking to see the end, you know, and there's still another issue to go, I believe, but it's tough to see Foy struggle so hard to get her father to somebody who she just knows will help him, and then to see the turn. It's so emotionally distressing that it'll be a little while before I try to read this book again, because you know, you don't imagine the hero going out that way. All right, and the next to last book that we've got for today is going to be Something is Killing the Children, issue 49 by James Tynion IV, Werther Dell'Edera, and Maquel Mericho. And you get to see the rise of possibly another White Mask into the ranks of the House of Slaughter. So is Jessica's friend Bex going to become a White Mask? Is she going to become a Black Mask? We don't know yet. But you get it set up that she's going to return home, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy to get the feeling that something huge is going to happen in issue 50. But they get out of there and they head back towards the House of Slaughter. And now we have the Belmont Mountain House. And Erica Slaughter, present day, is heading there. So we don't really know what issue 50 is going to hold, but I've got a feeling it's going to be massive and it's going to have repercussions for quite some time. So I said that if they didn't start killing the children, just like the title says, by issue 50, that I was going to let the title go, but that's not true. That's not true. It's drugged me right back in. You know, Department of Truth had to go, World Tree had to go, but Something is Killing the Children, it does still have some legs. I can't wait to see where we're headed. All right, and I'm just going to show you a quick one on this one, but I picked up Terminal issue number 1 by Robert Kirkman, Joe Casey, and Adam Kubert. This is the beginning of the new big thing for Image Comics and for Kirkman. So is it going to hold up to par? I don't know. We'll do a video about this here on an initial assessment in the next few days. So be on the lookout for that. But looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. If nothing else, it gives off those 90s X-Men vibes, with this wraparound cover where you get to see all the characters: Crusher, Blaster, Breaker, Thrasher, Racer, Phantasm, Imp, Minotaur, Siren, Goblin, and more. So what's going to happen? We're going to have to read and watch, and you come back for that video. It's coming up in a few days. That's it, guys. That's what I have read. That's what I checked out this week. What did you get from the comic shop? Let me know what your favorite books are, what stuff you're dropping. Are you going to check out Terminal #1? It's supposed to be like the second coming of God. So I don't know that it's that great of a book, but I haven't done my deep dive into it just yet. So I'm looking forward to getting time to do that. And in the meantime, you guys have a great Wednesday. I hope you get all the books that you want at the shop. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care and see you then.